Hello, welcome to another episode here at Big Man and Woods. My name is Mark, your online scout leader, helping you deliver more practical skills and skills for life. Now, this vlog it's so cool to be having a co-host. Actually, I'll pass it over to the lady here. I've never worked this out right. Which one?
On my screen, you're pointing at me, so you did really well then. That was a success. Yes.
All right, so you might recognize the lady who I'm talking to if you've hopefully been tuning into all the national vlogs that the Gilwell Park can be doing it. You would recognize the background of the lady behind us, and we're going to talk about this because there was a game I won, thankfully. Kester, come on. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Hello. It's fantastic to be here in the metaphorical woods, I suppose we should say, shouldn't we? In lockdown woods. I'm Kester Sharpe. One of the roles that I do in scouting is to be Deputy UK Chief Commissioner, which I think is why you invited me along on the podcast, and why my bookcase behind me has become a little bit of a talking point.
So, Kester, I'll just say this now because it will tickle me. It's been laughing since we said we're going to do this, and it was one question that I've always wanted to ask. When we first we've known about you for many years, but to see you face to face was the national call, as they call it. Was it beginning of the year? I can't remember when it was, of last year. And my WhatsApp was going mental because people weren't talking about what Matt was talking about and what Tim was talking about. They were trying to work out your background.
They were, and not only your WhatsApp. My phone vibrated, so it was on silent, obviously, but it was next to me on the desk, and my phone vibrated that much with little notifications. It just about fell off the desk, and I actually had to put it on the floor because it was getting so distracting. Because I was getting messages from all sorts of people saying, I think what you're referring to, which is that bookcase real?
Is it real? Yeah.
Is it real? And actually, if I move to one, I think the light's shining on it at the moment. It's right where the light is, but there's actually a cat hanging off.
There's a cat. That's what people were talking about, saying the cat hasn't moved.
Real? Is the cat real?
Is it stuffed?
Yeah, so to give you the history of this, so I'm in my little office at home. You see my husband's desk behind me there. So we share the office when we're both at home, which has its good points and its bad. It turns out that the controversial point for us in sharing an office isn't what do we listen to on the radio, but what temperature we want in the office. Oh. Yeah, we've had debates about this. So we redecorated this room just over 3 years ago, and I decided that we should have a bit of a feature wall. So I bought this wallpaper from Amazon, and I could never have predicted 3 and a bit years ago that we'd end up in a global pandemic, and that my bookcase would end up being beamed into all sorts of different people's homes. But yeah, it just sort of last March, April time, it really took off. So it is wallpaper. It's not a real cat, but bizarrely, one of the books on the bookcase, and I didn't know this when I bought it, is actually Scouting for Boys.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, who'd have thought it? I mean, cool. Yeah, it's really cool, really weird.
Did you do the wallpaper in the Kester, or did you get someone in?
It was a joint effort. My husband and I did it together because it was one of these wallpapers where you paste the wall, not the wallpaper, which we've not done before. So yeah, that was a bit of a let's do this together, and then we can both blame each other when it goes wrong. So.
Are the shelves level?
Yeah, they are. So and you get different sizes. So we got it the right size for the wall. So pretty much what you see is the wall behind me. But yeah, awesome. I do have 2 cats and I do have a dog, but they're not. Yeah, it's not a real cat on the.
So no one was discussing the big announcement that Matt was talking about, and Tim's stepping down. Nothing. Everyone was talking about it's Kester's bookshop. Is it real? The cat.
Yeah. The really funny thing was, for the first few weeks, probably the first 6 weeks of the from mid-March of the pandemic, when things were really, really serious and we were in lockdown and we'd had to stop face-to-face scouting, myself, Tim and Graham Hamilton, and then Matt and Ross, so the 5 of us had a daily call Monday to Friday every afternoon. So I was in this room quite a bit, and then obviously we had the calls that were open to members and things like that. And it was only probably October time that I was on a call with Matt, and he said, Kester, I've only just worked out and someone's confirmed to me that your bookcase isn't real, is it? Which I laughed and laughed and laughed when he said that, because he'd probably seen it more than anybody, and those 4 other people on that call, and yet he said, was it real?
So you would get your DIY badge then, I guess. For doing
Yeah,
the wallpaper thing.
probably would. I am quite practical in that sense. Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there was like a level badge, you would probably get, because wallpapering's hard, but to get the shelves straight.
Yeah, I'll let you into a secret. I've got a touch of OCD when it comes to things having to be just so. So things do have to be level, and that actually extends to when I'm on scout camp and the scouts are all pitching their tents, and we've said, "Can you put your tents over there in that row? Are you the same?" Because I have actually said to them, "I'm sorry, you're gonna have to tweak that one. Can we just take the guy ropes up and just tweak it slightly?" Because they're all skew whiff, and I always think if we're here for a week, that's going to drive me mad. And one of the other scout leaders is exactly the same. So I've always got a kindred spirit who'll back me up on this one.
Yeah, no. I those pegs.
Yes, yeah.
They've got to be, and that's kind of installed, isn't it? Like, from the scout leaders who pass it down generation to generation, and then like, no,
Definitely.
I know what you mean.
Definitely.
I apologize. This question about your wallpaper wasn't on my questions.
That's fine.
I've just got to, of all questions, I've got to ask. So I'm fine with that. I'm cool. Kester, one question I want to know, right? You're a volunteer, yeah?
Yes.
You get paid as much as me, which is 0 pence.
Yeah, and there's a reason we're not paid, and that's because we're priceless.
Beautiful. Yeah, that was pure cheese, but
we do.
So I struggle to find the time to do my scout group, the county role, the district role, that kind of thing. But how do you find the time as a national role to do it, as well as working full time and family?
I mean, it's just a different way of spending time, I think. Yes, I'm not going to say it's an hour a week, because it's absolutely none of our roles in scouting are just an hour a week, or very, very few of them are. And it actually annoys me when people do both joke about that and try and sell roles on that basis, because you and I both know if we're going to do something properly, it does take more than that amount of time. On saying that, I think there's a lot of roles in scouting that are flexible and that do suit people, but let's be honest about what the time commitment is. So the time commitment for this role is significant. However, you've just said that you've got a county role, you've got a district role, you run this vlog, you invest a lot of time on a weekly basis, daily basis into scouting in one means or another. And I'm the same. I tomorrow night I've got my district exec meeting. I had my group meeting the other day because I'm still very involved in a group. I'm not a section leader, I'm an assistant group scout leader, because the one thing I do struggle with is a regular time commitment because of this role. But or a routine time commitment. I can't necessarily commit to every Tuesday night, but what I can commit to is, a significant amount of hours per week. So I'm still very involved in a group. I do a bit of work within the district, and I do this role. I think probably like most of us, I don't watch a huge amount of TV, and what TV I do watch isn't live. It's always on catch up, or it's box sets or Netflix, something like that. But I think life expands to fill the gap, and I do think that it's a cheesy phrase, but if you want something doing, ask a busy person, because I know, I don't know if you find the same, I'm more productive when I've got more on, when there's more demands. If I'm going through a sluggish phase, actually, I find that really challenging. So
So do you have Netflix?
I do.
So did you do the Bear Grylls, I can't remember, the interactive game that you did?
No, I didn't. I'm not much good at interactive stuff.
Everyone was trying to kill Bear Grylls off. It was great because you can
kill him off. He's brilliant. He's our chief scout.
Yeah. Well, confession, I tried to kill him as well, Kester. Don't tell him that. Yeah.
No.
Play it. It's really funny. Like, shall I jump the bridge and shall I do X, Y, Z? And you know the safe option, but let's get him to wrestle the crocodiles, and that was great. It was good fun. I'm surprised you haven't done it. So while we're on Bear Grylls, you probably know my big man crush with Bear. Have you got his number?
I haven't got his number, I'm afraid, no, and I don't have his email address either. I mean, I have, cards on the table. I've met him quite a lot of times. You probably saw just before Christmas we had a catch up with him and our brilliant ambassadors, which was not your standard lunchtime Zoom call. So yeah, I have met him quite a few times and things, but I'm not privy to his phone number, I'm afraid.
And do you call him Bear? Do you call him Ed? What?
No, we just call him Bear. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to talk about this because most of you actually tweeted this really cool picture. Like, we've all done Zoom sessions, but oh my god, when I saw this, Kester, you don't know how bad I was. Like, I was so jealous of being in that Zoom call. I was at work. at lunchtime, just finished the operating list, just eating my sandwiches, and I went on Facebook, and boom, that was there. Look at that Zoom session. That is awesome. All ambassadors. Warwick, we've got there.
Tim P. Yeah.
Oh, Bear's like just chilling up against the tree. Tim was there, Megan.
Yeah, I mean, he was actually outside. I think he was the only one of us who was outside. I think Warwick might have been sat out on like a veranda or a patio or something, but he was actually Bear was in the woods. So
Bear was in the woods. What are we allowed to know what the Zoom session was about?
All it was I think it was like the last sort of normal working week of December. So what we do each year is normally host just a very simple lunch. There's nothing fancy about it at all, where Bear's there, and we gather together the ambassadors and we say thank you to them for what they've done during the year, because the ambassadors and Bear, just like you and I, are volunteers for scouting, and they do some really good stuff. The ambassadors are there to bridge the gap really between us and the outside world, and to explain a bit about scouting to all their different networks that they come into contact with. That's why we have those ambassadors, and Bear obviously is just this global ambassador for us, and it's just an opportunity for us to say thank you, recap on what we've done, all of us, and then also sort of refresh for the next year and say, okay, let's take stock. Next year our focus is going to be on this, and we're launching that, and maybe you could help with this. Never very long, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so obviously this year, or should I say last year, we couldn't do that. And we did what everybody else, all of us are doing all the time at the moment, which is going, right, well, we'll do it on screen then. So we didn't have a lunch. We didn't have Uber Eats delivering it. We should have thought about that. We all just had a bit of a coffee, and we were all joining from home. And we just had a bit of a catch up, very short. It was only about 40 minutes. As I say, really what we normally do in person, but without a bite to eat. But it was one of those, shall I just pinch myself? I'm on a Zoom call with Tim Peake and Bear Grylls. This is a bit weird.
Out of all the ambassadors, who's the one that you get starstruck with? Who's the one you're like, this is
that's really hard. That's probably Warwick Davies, if I'm honest. I'm a bit of a Harry Potter fan. My daughter's a Harry Potter fan as well. So probably Warwick, and Ellie Simmons as well. So she wasn't able to join us on the Zoom call, but obviously Paralympic swimmer, gold medalist. And she is so down to earth and so unassuming, and very much probably starstruck in the same way that we are about other people, and that there's a very endearing quality about that. So that's always a bit really, really, really lovely. But I like all of them. They're all fab people.
You get bored after Bear after a while, don't you? You've met him, right? He's always turning up at these places, but Warwick, when he's there, awesome.
I mean, I think particularly last year, getting us through though, from March up to Christmas, and I imagine it'll be the same going forward as well. I think the ambassadors, despite having their own pressures, work, or many of them will be homeschooling, the same as many of us are, all of those sorts of things. They did an awful lot to support the stuff that you and I were involved in. Some of the pre-recorded messages that they did, and things like supporting Race Around the World. Obviously we had two of each of the ambassadors heading up each of those section teams as well, and the Hike to the Moon, and their support for those sort of things was absolutely fantastic. It was brilliant.
That's great. And all the stuff, Bear and Tim was on the news quite a lot, wasn't he? When we were doing Hike to the Moon. So getting an astronaut involved in scouting, that's just Did you see when he was on the One Show and we had the Cub Scout join him, and she wasn't expecting to see it? It was just absolutely it's a real lump in the throat moment. Nice, cool. Kester, we've got loads of questions to get through.
Okay,
are you ready? Now, my apologies, Kester, these are in no particular order and they are random.
Great. I just hope I know the answers.
Well, they're all about you, so if you don't know the answers, then we're kind of Right, here we go. Right, so Vicky's asking your favorite campfire song and campfire meal.
Okay, so camp meal, I've got a really, really sweet tooth, and one of my friends who I did my original training with in scouting, who might watch this, I'm not sure, so Lindsay, if you're watching, hello. Lindsay and I always do the cooking at camp, and we have a really favourite dessert. We know it, and everybody know in their own group, they've all got their own little things, haven't they? It's known to us as Swedish apple charlotte. It is the most calorific thing ever. So big, you know, probably like you, we make all our desserts in big bowls because we're catering for like 36 people. Mashed apple in the bottom, cornflake crispy on top of it, dream topping on the top of that. So, you know,
what's dream topping?
You know, like Angel Whirl, but just sort of creamy, you know, just cream on the top. So yeah, it's like a cardiac arrest on the plate, I guess. We love that, and we normally over cater quite deliberately. So that's my favourite. It's not really a meal, if I'm honest, because you know, you can't. Man cannot live on pudding alone, sadly. But that's probably the favourite thing that I cook and eat at camp, and it has been for all of my time in scouting, young person and adult. Campfire song. I really like campfires, but I'm absolutely tone deaf. So I have to make sure if I'm singing that I'm like at the back in amongst a whole load of people. And you won't get me singing on screen. Campfire, what's my favourite campfire song? I like action songs. And I like one. Yeah.
I'm gonna say the one I hate.
Oh, I don't know. I just like the ones that are action songs, get everybody moving. But to be honest, things like Campfire's Burning, I do really like as well, because that's normally wraps it all up and everybody's together at that point, aren't they? Sort of, it can be quite a spiritual one. So yeah, I think probably Campfire's Burning sums it up.
So, Kester, confession time. This is the one where I make an excuse. I don't know where I go. Make a brew like you're just doing now. Like, but when they, and this is no offense, because Northern, this is probably going to upset a lot of people. But I've mentioned it quite a time. Hello, my name is Joe. You know.
No.
Right.
No.
When that comes up, That's good. Phew, we're on the same page. Right. Alison's asking, when snuggled in your sleeping bag on camp, what's your secret luxury item that you always take that's not on the kit list?
Luxury item. So it's not on the kit list.
Mine's Jaffa cakes.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Jaffa cakes, massive fan of Jaffa cakes. I do make sure that I've always got something to listen to the radio on, whether it's phone and headphones or radio. This is going to make me sound really vain. I've always got a mirror packed.
Well, for signalling and emergencies.
Well, I'd like to say it was for signalling. It's not. It's to make sure I don't look a complete note of sight in the morning. So the snuggled up in my sleeping bag bit actually threw me, because to make sure I'm snuggled up in my sleeping bag, I do always make sure that I've got a nice big thick pair of fluffy socks. But in terms of luxury item, I always have a book with me as well, because if I can just disappear off into my own little world with a book.
That's important at camp, isn't it? For leaders just to take a bit of downtime.
Because it's 24/7, isn't it? And it's full on, and you're normally living on too much sugar, too much coffee, and not quite enough sleep. It can get a bit much. So yeah, probably book, my fluffy socks, and a mirror. That's not one item, but
mirror.
Yeah, they're always in the bag. Yeah.
Okay, Catherine's asking, who has been your biggest influence on scouting career?
There's lots of young people that have had an influence on me. That probably they would never even realise they've had an influence on me. I think we can all think about those people, those kids who. I'm thinking about one now who has really struggled in academic life. Because of a medical condition they've got, and actually really succeeded in scouting, and seeing what they went through was actually I keep them in mind when I'm making decisions about things, when we're planning things. They're long gone now, they're in their early 20s. I don't think they'll ever return to scouting in any way, but I know that at one point it was a bit of a bolt hole for them, so they've had a big influence. Probably my husband, actually. So we met through scouting. We're still involved in the same group. Our daughter's in the group. So yeah, probably my husband.
What does he do?
So my husband is scout leader. He's currently group scout leader as well. But at heart, he is a scout leader through and through.
That's hard, because as scout leaders, we're all moaning about Gilboa Park. Why are they making these decisions and stuff like that?
Yeah,
he can just turn to you and just start winning.
Yeah, but do you think he does?
He's too scared. because you're the boss. You're the boss in everything.
He's the boss in the group, though, so it swings and roundabouts. We did have a funny moment about 18 months ago when I said, "Are you dialing in for the all-member call tonight, then?" And I got the answer, "Why do I need to do that to hear you?" That was quite amusing. So but he's a scout leader through and through, and very much practical, hands-on scouter, and that's it's how we met. So very much a scouting family. Yeah.
Right, Chris is asking, what first encouraged you to join the movement?
Okay, so I'm old enough for it not to have been possible for me to join as a youth member, because girls weren't allowed in anything other than venture scouting at the time. But I left guiding because I was a brownie and a guide, and we didn't have any sort of senior section rangers or anything like that in my area. So I left guiding at sort of 14, 15, and my brother's quite a bit younger than me, and he was a cub at the time. And I remember popping up to pick him up from cubs with my mum and dad, and there being some mention of them needing a bit of help. So I went along as a helper, a young leader kind of thing at the time, and never left. Got to 18, signed on the dotted line, became a cub leader, scout leader, group scout leader, this role. Yeah. So I haven't found the exit, I don't think.
No one is. Once you're in, that's it, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah. Right, next one. Love this question. Best scouting activity.
Oh, there's so many. There are so many. Best scouting activity. I did a zip wire with some of my scouts about 2 years ago, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm not great with heights, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's difficult to see. I suppose it's what the definition of activity is as well, isn't it? So some of my favourite moments are being with our scouts on camp. So it's those sort of, when it says best scouting activity, it's probably those sort of environment kind of things, those scenarios. So being away with them, when you're 2 or 3 days into camp and everyone's in the swing of it, and you're enjoying those chats you have while you're all cooking tea, or you sat around the table, or you've got a fire going on a night, and just getting to know the kids in a way that you don't get to know at any other point. And you're not mum and dad, and you're not, well, I am for one of them, but you're not teacher. You're a trusted adult in their world, and that's a really privileged position, and I love that. Those sort of environments that encourage that, when you're seeing them develop in a way that they wouldn't develop at any other point, because they've got that independence, but it's in a really safe environment, and they're overcoming things that they didn't think they'd overcome, and especially for the younger ones, learning to just make choices about what they're going to get dressed in that day, and making sure they're clean, and all of that kind of stuff that's just really important.
It actually happened, I think it was 2 years ago. We were letting them just do their own, I think it was like 24 hours, just do whatever you want, let's see how you work out, see how the day went, and we'll be here but at the back, but we're not interfering unless something major happens. But we're going to come around. So they were doing breakfast, and they bacon sandwich, and they said, "Mark, we've got your bacon sandwich. Ah, beautiful. Let's see how you make this bacon sandwich." I opened it up, and then I was like, "Oh God, I might have used a swear word, Kester. Sorry." But this bacon, literally, it looked like they've just sliced it off the pig, was raw as anything, and they were about to eat that bacon sandwich. So we were kind of forced. We taught them how to cook the bacon properly. It went on and on and on. And sadly, he's not with us anymore. He's moved on. But his dad wrote in the thank you card to me, "Thank you very much. Callum now makes the best bacon sandwich you'll ever believe." And, it's also, and it's like those little stories as well, is it? You'll never forget those. Those random ones. Right, talking about random. Sorry. Spork or knife, fork or spoon?
Oh, now I'll apologise if you can hear any noise in the background. My dog is going bonkers, barking at the moment. Probably spork, if I'm honest, because well, you just get on, don't you? Just eat it quite quickly.
Yep, no, it's cool. Favorite tuck shop item?
Anything that's chocolate. I'm a real chocoholic. I'm not that. Although I've got a sweet tooth, I'm not that fussed about things like Haribo and sweets. But chocolate, always chocolate.
Right. this moves us on to the next question from Mike. Favorite chocolate bar?
Things like Galaxy, really smooth chocolate, completely unadulterated. Yeah, just hit me with the chocolate. Yeah.
Not Bounty?
Do you know, I actually quite like Bounties, but yeah. Actually, I tell you what I like, those. What are those Malteser ones? The sort of Malteser with a bit of honey, a bit of honeycomb in. They're quite nice. Yeah.
Whisper's my kind of go-to when I can't really think of a chocolate bar.
It can be quite messy, Whispers. You've got to make sure you're not eating them in the car or anything like that, because you get chocolate everywhere.
Terry's asking, what was your most memorable moment at the World Scout Jamboree in America?
Oh, so many, so many. I was in a really privileged position to be able to go along for the first half of the Jamboree and work with the amazing contingent management team. I was working alongside them, doing some bits and pieces with them. And most nights I went to eat with different units who were really kind and fed me, which was fab. That is really tough. So I really enjoyed the Culture Day, which was the Friday. So there was no guests on site, and I went with a few of my friends from the contingent management team. I think there's about 5 of us. We went and visited a couple of the different subcamps, which for anybody that wasn't there, just visiting a couple of the different subcamps was like a marathon in itself, because the terrain was. I was covering about 25 miles a day. It was absolutely phenomenal. I didn't lose weight though, which is really annoying.
All the food.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't the healthiest of food, if I'm brutally honest. It was copious and lovely, but not the healthiest. So probably Culture Day, I think, was, if I had to pick one thing, was just amazing. There was something really special about the fact that it was just us on site. I mean, obviously, that just us is 50,000 people, but there was no visitors, and everybody was in their subcamps, and everybody was so keen to show off their country, their culture, so their food, their games, their costumes, just different things. I was actually speaking to a couple of people who'd been as youth participants recently, and they both said the same thing, that Culture Day was right up there, which was really nice to hear, because I've got a few years on them, and it was really interesting to hear that actually we were coming at it from very similar viewpoints.
Nice. Sorry about this one. Why not UK Chief Commissioner?
My socks aren't the right colour. So for anybody who doesn't know, Tim Kidd, our current UK Chief Commissioner, is well known for wearing some rather brightly coloured socks. He's not ashamed of them. I've shared many a stage with him and looked across, and because we're sat down, his trousers have risen up very slightly, and you can see a good 2 inches of neon pink sock. So I don't think I wear the right colour socks. Seriously.
To you, are you wearing some neon stuff now?
No, I'm not actually. In all seriousness, I've not applied to be UK Chief Commissioner, and that's my choice. I'd like to think that I've been a great deputy to Tim. I think we all have, as I said earlier, I think we've all got roles to play in scouting. I think Tim does an absolutely amazing job, and I love working with him. I don't think I could do what he does. I think I'll stick to my role.
So do you think Carl, his new one in September, he will carry on the neon pink socks?
No, I'm quite sure that Carl has far better taste than that.
So it's not written in that you have to wear neon pink socks?
No, the only thing that's written down is that we've always said that Tim cannot sit on any uniform committee of any type. And at any point he expresses any opinion on these things, we tend to talk as a team, we just talk over him. Yeah. Oh.
I'm so glad. Last question, Kester, from Terry. Who's your favorite comedian, male, female?
Oh, I really, really like going to watch live comedy. So female, I've seen Shappy Corsandi live, who isn't the most mainstream.
Literally about 5 minutes from my house.
Oh, really? Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I read her autobiography a few years ago, which was fascinating, understanding how she came to live in England. It was really interesting, and I've seen her live twice. Once when she was actually speaking at an event that I was at, and she was very funny. bit off the wall. As a northern girl, I've got to say Victoria Wood as well. She's just RIP, but absolutely hilarious woman. Male, that's a tricky one. It's quite a few. He's a bit off the wall, but I've been to see Ross Noble several times. So I do find him, he can be a bit trying at times when he's complete, because he always says at some point in his show, for anyone who's not seen me, I'm not the most linear of people. And that is an understatement. He's all over the shop. Yeah. But I quite like Chris Addison as well. He can be quite political. I've seen him quite a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago now. But very, very funny, and a lot of humour about current affairs, which I quite like. I dread to think what he'd be making of what's going on at the moment. I mean, we're only a week into 2021, and good grief, when's it all going to stop? I quite like him.
Nice question.
That gives you a flavour of my slightly warped sense of humour.
Love it. So, Kester, the final question. If you could spend 1 hour with BP around the campfire, what would you ask him?
Okay, this might be a bit of a controversial one, but I would ask him why no girls originally. There is a school of thought, and there's some information that our amazing heritage manager has found in the past that would suggest that he probably was thinking about having girls in originally, but he was actually really close to his mum, was BP, and his mum was a proper Victorian woman and wouldn't have countenanced the idea of girls and boys being together, because that wasn't proper, wasn't the done thing. So I'd like to know if that, why did you decide no? I mean, clearly girl guiding started as a result of of the decision to only be boys, which was fantastic for them, and now we do have girls in, so it's not too big a deal. But I'd really like to know what that was all about. Not sure what else I'd like to know. I suppose what he thinks of how we are now. I mean, he did always say, didn't he, we're a movement for a reason, because we don't stand still and we move with the times. Mm-hmm. And we've got that core thread that goes through us that's still the same now, our values and the practical ability and things like the inclusion as well. Scouting for all, he was scouting for all right back on Brownsea Island, wasn't he? But I'd like to know what he makes of some of it. What's he reckon to the fact that we've moved on a bit with uniform, and what do you think to all of our alternative promises and some of those things that I'd just be keen to know his opinion on these things. And
scouting online.
Absolutely. I think he'd be cool with this, because he really did want it to be for everybody, didn't he? And I think one of the things that I'm just blown away by, and so proud of scouting generally, but all of our brilliant leaders, is, back on the 16th of March, when we had to send that message out that said, sorry guys, but wonderful though scouting is, the Prime Minister said nothing unless it's essential, and unfortunately we're a big part of people's lives, but we're not essential, you need to stop. Within 24 hours people were doing online scouting, and that's just mind-blowing, isn't it? And such an accolade for our leadership generally. Absolutely brilliant. So I think BP would have been quite proud of that we kept the show on the road and we kept delivering what we need to deliver for young people. We know we've been a lifeline for many adults as well throughout this awful time. We've kept that sense of something, of continuity in their lives. Yeah.
So first virtual scout group has been amazing.
Oh, just brilliant. Yeah,
I spoke to Andy last week. We did an interview in the shed, and it started. I don't know if you know the story. It started for his group.
Oh wow!
Just to share leaders. Then they thought, actually, we'll invite XYZ from the district, and then the district came in and said, actually, you know what? Let's open it up. So from 5 people to now 20,000 people in that group. I mean, that's just awesome. Like, Andy's done a great job.
It's just brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and the good thing, and like I told him, he hasn't done anything. He just opened a Facebook group, and people are sharing all. It's just awesome. So, Kester, what one thing in that group have you taken? What activity or session have you used? And
we've done all sorts. So
yeah.
So my sorry.
Have you had the llama?
No, we haven't. But now we're back, completely online. Then we might have to look at that. So yeah, so our group's got Beavers, Cubs and Scouts, and we've carried on online. The one that we've done most recently that went down brilliantly was somebody put the recipe on there for this really simple pizza recipe that's Greek yogurt and plain flour. So just before Christmas, we split our group in two. So we had the Beavers and the younger Cubs, and then a session for them, and then we did the older Cubs and the Scouts all together, and we did it for families. And we had a sort of Christmassy themed pizza making. So they all made their pizzas, and we said, can you theme it? So you can have a Christmas topping, or can you make it a Christmassy shape? And then while the pizzas were cooking, the Beavers and the younger Cubs did Disney bingo, which was blatantly plagiarised from the activity from the online Gilwell reunion. So thank you to my friends who did that one. And then there was the Big Fat Quiz of the Year that was also shared on the first virtual Scout group. And the Scouts and the older Cubs did that while the pizza was cooking. And it was great because more than we could have appreciated or hoped for, all the family got involved, so you could see all the parents in the background, and we got some really lovely feedback afterwards about it just being one of those nights where everybody came together and was really happy. So we've used loads. We think it's great in our group, especially when you are just feeling a little bit beleaguered and thinking, oh, what are we going to do tonight?
Yeah, and we've all had those times. We're on, driving to the hall or finishing work, thinking that the program tonight, I'm not having tonight. Like, I'm not feeling it. We'll make something. We'll have a games night or something. And what am I going to do? And I think all of us have done that as well. We've gone on first YouTube. And no, there's nothing on YouTube. And then you find something on first virtual. Yeah. And just putting one keyword. It's been great.
It just works so well, and it's got such a lovely feel to it as well. Everybody's so supportive, and just really positive, really supportive. It's been absolutely wonderful. I totally agree. And Andy, thank you for taking that idea and running with it and going where it's gone. Yeah, brilliant. Really
great.
Brilliant.
And the amount of leaders that are just throwing ideas in. Have you done this? I never known that my Scouts would like playing the generation game, the conveyor belt. We did that, and just random things. Never would have thought of it. And just getting.
Yeah, some of the things that have worked aren't the things that you would have expected either. They've been the really unexpected bits and pieces. There's been so much support for online scouting, from yourself, from people like Mike at Scoutadelic, the first virtual Scout group, and people have shared. I'm sure you've been the same. I've been talking to people in scouting that I know through different things, and they've said, "Oh, our group did this," and I said, "Oh, would you mind if we borrowed that?" And been a couple of groups that have invited me to join them online, and the things that we've done have been absolutely brilliant. I said, would you mind sharing that with me too? And people have just been so supportive, which is wonderful, really wonderful.
No, it's great. And Big Man of the Woods, I've been going around the globe. That's like insane. Remember we did one in Australia. My daughter came along where it was lunchtime in London, but pitch black in Australia. Yeah, and she couldn't work it out. Like, what was this? So I had to do a teaching session for her, but just getting ideas of what they were doing in Australia. It's been great. And I think try and look at a positive and a negative. We've come together so much in scouting during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Never expecting speaking to people around the world or whatever.
Yeah.
It has been tough, no denying, but it's been great.
I think it's definitely been tough, and it's been awful. We know people have lost relatives and loved ones, and you could never say that it's been a positive experience, because it hasn't. But if we need to take some positives from it, I totally agree. It's allowed us to think differently, and it's certainly, we've been on a technological revolution, haven't we? A sort of cultural revolution in many respects. Absolutely. Where we've had no choice. We've just had to change our mindset, and it's speeded things up probably a decade, hasn't it? In terms of something, and certainly within our group, we've sort of said we've done things online that we wouldn't have been able to do face to face or in our own building. Things like we booked the lady who did the forensic experience for our scouts. We couldn't have done that any other way. So it's made us think differently and sort of say, well, when we are back face to face, maybe we look at getting guests in, and we patch them in, and we're all in our main hall, and we beam them onto the wall, and it's do it that way. If we have to look at a positive, and I try and stay positive, because I think it's what gets us through these things, then we've just got to look for those sort of moments, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kester, thank you very much for joining us here on Big Man in the Woods. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
I've got a Facebook page. You can recognise that straight away because it's me with this neckerchief on.
Very official. Very official.
It's slightly longer hair, it's slightly less weight, but you find me in there. There's not that many Kester Sharpes, so you're probably able to find me.
Once again, thank you very much, Kester. It's been beautiful to talk to you, and
it's been great. Thank you. Really enjoyed it.